Thank you for joining us. Are you ready to breathe, move, and flow? Today you'll be led through a Pilates class that focuses on communication.
Crisscross. Interlace your hands behind your head. Elevate the legs to tabletop. Extend the right leg away from the body and twist towards your left hip. Think about rolling across the shoulders to switch. Keep the back of the pelvis imprinted as you rotate from side to side. Also, avoid letting the elbows fold into your ears. Think wide chest, wide elbows.
We communicate not only with our words, but with our tone, body, pitch, and more. So much goes into having a conversation. Communicating our feelings takes tremendous courage. When communicating, we tend to have an internal dialogue that others are not aware of. When we make our unspoken dialogue rules and beliefs known, others are then aware of our story.
Scissor with rotation. With your hands folded behind the head, extend the legs up together. Lower the right leg down to scissor kick and rotate towards the opposite hip. The legs will pass each other in a diagonal space to switch. Keep the chest lifted and roll across the shoulders to transition from side to side. Make sure your pelvis is unmoving and avoid the temptation to let your elbows hug in towards your head. Think wide elbows, squeeze the upper back so that you're able to limit the rotation to your thoracic spine.
When others communicate their story to us, and when we share our story with others, that vulnerable experience is special and connecting.
Side bend. With your knees bent forward, the right hand and right hip down to start, begin to stretch the opposite arm up and over the head, cinching the underbody and elongating the upper oblique. As the arm stretches, the hip will float away from the floor, and as if you were doing a kneeling plank. Then you'll lower the hips down again. I like to picture forming a crescent shape with the body. Now gently lowering the hips down after I side bend, you'll elevate the hips back up.
When listening, are you listening or active listening? When choosing to actively listen, you are choosing to listen with all your senses and giving your full attention to the person speaking. We are actively listening when we show up curious and compassionate.
Single leg kneeling plank. Hover the bottom hip away from the floor. The top arm and leg stay extended. Now begin to lift and lower the top leg up and then lower the leg back down again. Lift the leg up with a pointed toe. Now lower the leg down with a flexed foot. Keep the back side of your knee extended without locking it out.
Having boundaries is important when choosing who to confide in. Considering how you like your boundaries to be constructed. To allow those in who have shown support to you takes courage and requires vulnerability. The alternative of solid boundaries lets no one in and results in meaningful relationships being lost.
Rainbow your hips in a kneeling position. Keep the top leg hovering and tap the toe forward. Now elevate the leg and tap it behind. Lead with the toes as you tap the foot forward. Lead with the heel as you sweep the leg back behind the hip. Shoulders stay stacked. The upper body stays still as the leg travels forward and moves back in a rainbow shape.
Life is full of stressors. How are these stressors impacting your communication with yourself and with others? Experiencing stress relates to our perception of our personal coping.
Cat-cow on all fours. Push the hands and the knees into the mat as you flex and round your spine. Now reverse the movement and extend the spine. Open up the chest and press the back of your hips away. Repeat.
When our stress turns into feeling overwhelmed, it is essential to create time to be still. When feeling overwhelmed, our decision-making ability goes offline.
Side bend. We'll switch. With the knees bent forward and the left hand and left hip down to start, begin to stretch the opposite arm up and over the head, cinching the underbody and elongating the upper oblique. As the arm stretches, the hip will float away from the floor, as if to do a kneeling plank. I like to picture once again forming that curve or crescent shape as the hips elevate, and then gently lowering the hips back down. My arm will extend out to a T.
Activating your senses. What do you notice in your body as you lean in towards communication? How does that experience sit within you?
Single leg kneeling plank. Float the bottom hip away from the floor. The top arm and leg stay extended. Now begin to lift and lower the top leg up and lower that top leg down, keeping the hip and the leg parallel. You'll lift the leg up with a pointed toe and lower the leg down with a flexed foot. Your corset muscles stay active around your torso, and you are protecting and supporting your shoulder by lifting away from it.
Pain, regardless of it being physical or emotional, is processed in the same part of our brains. If we are experiencing emotional pain while communicating, the conversation will be impacted.
Rainbow the top hip in a kneeling position. Keep the top leg hovering and tap the toe forward and then back. Lead with the toes as you tap the foot forward. Lead with the heel as you sweep the leg back behind the hip. Shoulders stay stacked once again. The upper body stays still as the leg travels forward and back in that same rainbow shape.
Reoccurring social comparisons do not result in life satisfaction or pleasurable emotions. When communicating, do you find yourself comparing? Many of us do. Our brain frequently compares when without our choosing. When we are aware of this natural trait, we can recognize it and respond to it. Through our awareness, we can choose connection over comparison.
Kneeling proposal with saw. Right foot forward, left knee bent. Create 90-degree angles with both legs. Open the arms out to a T and lift out of your waistline. Begin to twist the spine to the right and then twist the spine to the left. Allow the arms to travel with the torso as it rotates. Keep the front heel heavy and the back knee light on the floor.
What is the rhythm of your breathing? How does your breath change as you move? Do you find yourself holding your breath or tension in a specific spot in your body? Bringing your breath and some tenderness to that area. Accommodate and make changes so that your style of breath is your choosing, not being chosen for you.
We'll switch. Left foot forward, right knee bent back. Create 90-degree angles with both of the legs. Extend the arms back out to that T. Lift out of your hips and begin to spiral the spine once again to the left and then back to the right, rotating from the ribs and disassociating from the lower half of your body as you twist.
Communication is hard work. Thanking yourself for having the courage to put in the work to communicate and participate in this Pilates class today.
Supine leg circles. Lay in your supinated position on your back, spine and imprint. Begin to lengthen both legs up to the sky, keeping that low back flat. Now let the legs open and begin to circle around and down to parallel at the bottom. Use your abdominals to pull the legs up through center. We're isolating the movement to our hips here. Everything else stays still. Now let's reverse our circle, curling the head, neck, and shoulders away from the mat if you'd like a challenge for your abdominals, and if you can truly isolate the movement to your hips.
When we communicate with others, we are having our own internal, mental, physical, and emotional dialogue simultaneously. Imagine there's a cell phone in your body. If you were to answer this call, what would your body tell you?
Hip bridges. Lay on your back with your knees bent up. Push the hips up away from the mat. Now begin to articulate into your bridge, lowering the sternum, mid-back, low back into that neutral position. Now roll the hips back up, articulating that spine one piece of bone at a time up into that lifted position. Inhale at the top and then use your exhale to roll back down.
Bringing to mind a time when you were actively listening in a conversation. Who were you with? How did you feel? How did that conversation go? Now bringing that experience into this present moment and imagine yourself in the future actively listening while others actively listening to you.
Roll over with hip circles. Extend both legs up and lower them down to 45 degrees. Now sweep the legs up and begin to peel the hips away from the floor, rolling up to your shoulders. Once you've found your rollover position, place the hands heavy onto the mat or allow them to hover up to support your hips. You'll begin to draw small circles from those hips, keeping the rest of the body still.
Thank you for exploring this Pilates class wave today. We hope it guides you through the rest of your day. If you like this class, please provide us with a thumbs up, a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any Mind and Body Pilates, a wellness approach classes.